You know, guys, there's just something about Odd Taxi that I really just love. I don't know if it's the characters and their appearance, the fact that they're animals that give the series such a unique charm to it, or the fact that the dialogue and the character interactions are really good and kind of suck you in. I can't really describe what I love about Odd Taxi, but I know it's fantastic, and this episode today was no exception whatsoever. So, as you guessed it, guys, welcome back to the channel. We're here to talk about Odd Taxi episode 5 today. And like I said, this series is just something. How we can just have so many different points of interests. So many different scenes that you would think, oh, these are kind of random. These are all over the place, but all connect into each other in a little way here and there every single time. And I love that. So let's just get in and talk about it right now because, man, I get jazzed up when I talk about this series, guys. It really does put a smile on my face. So let's just get into it. So the first half of our episode is quite interesting, actually. We see Odokawa picking up the manager of Mystery Kiss. Now, as we know from our previous episodes, this guy got a call from someone to investigate a taxi driver, per se. And let's just cut to the chase, guys. He got a call to investigate Odokawa. We know that. So he knows who he is. This is planned out. But we'll get back to that in a bit. He asked Odokawa, hey, I need to pick up 2 people, and you need to head us to our studio. He's like, all right. So they go and pick up the first person. And it turns out to be Mitsuya, one of the idols in Mystery Kiss. And, as they're picking her up, it seems normal. But we see that she's talking to someone in a car, and she gets handed a cell phone. Maybe not so abnormal. Whatever, it is what it is. So they get into the car, and they just start talking about random stuff, The manager mentions Ruri, which puts Mitsuya kind of in a bad mood. A common trend we'll see going forward. But, they start talking about regular stuff. She starts saying how she loves fried chicken and all that. And during that conversation, though, however, we see that she took that cell phone that she was handed and she slid it into the seat of Odokawa's car. Very interesting. So they drop her off. Nothing too abnormal besides that. And they go and pick up the second girl, who is Ichimura. And when she gets into the car, Odokawa, he kind of recognizes her. He's like, wait a minute. I feel like I've seen her somewhere before. And if you guys don't remember, I've deduced, it's not even deduced, it's kind of a fact, that Ichimura is the guy that, what was his name? Hikihana? Odokawa's friend has actually met online. The girl that he met at the end of episode 3 is her. And Odokawa's like, I can't quite place where I've seen her before. Maybe on TV? And I'll just say this right now, guys. I think Odokawa knows more than what he's saying. Because throughout all of these interactions in this episode, we cut to his eyes always looking at people. And that's very telling to me. To me, that tells that, oh, he has more of an idea of what's going on than he's letting on. But anyway, we go past that. And she also mentions Ruri, the lead member of their group, just like Mitsuya did. And she starts saying stuff like, oh, it's unfair how she gets to do stuff like that. I don't know if I can keep up with her ambitions and all that. And they start getting into an argument, her and her manager. And she starts explaining how, oh, I'm not as cute as her. I'm not as appealing as her. Doing all this stuff is annoying. Like, having to talk with older men, for instance. And the manager quickly shuts her up. And like I mentioned before, we get a quick view of Odokawa's eyes checking her out in that instance. So, I believe he understands who she really is, and he's just playing it off. But anyway, they, basically it's telling us that she's using Hikikana for whatever purposes she is. But anyway, they end up dropping her off, and him and the manager sit and they talk a bit. You know, he asks for Odokawa's business card, saying, oh, like, we could use someone like you to drive us around, a familiar face, so we can pick people up and take us here, you know? We want to keep the same driver. And, you know, they start chit-chatting away, and then all of a sudden, he asks Odokawa, hey, do you have dash cam footage in your taxi? You know, if you did, I'd like to buy it off you so we could try to get some candid shots of the girls, you know, to try to sell. They are idols, after all. And Odokawa's hesitant. You know, he's like, I don't know if I want to do that. And he says, hey, we'll pay you for it. And he's like, if we can, and Odokawa's like, if we can sort out the privacy issues, then maybe I'd sell it to you. And the manager's like, all right. But during that conversation, actually, Odokawa mentions that 2 weeks prior, he ended up dropping off a girl that he thought was from their brand, you know, their corporation, their group. He's like, I remember bringing another girl to this studio a couple weeks prior. And the manager, all of a sudden, he's like, wait a minute, who? And he visually tenses up. Like, something's up. And that's when he actually asks for the dash cam footage. Which, to me, really shows that Odokawa knows more than he's letting on. Because why all of a sudden would he just bring that up? It's like he knew the manager would be going after him. Going to find him. It's very interesting, actually. This show has a lot of, like, visual things about it, you know? Just little subtle things here and there that if you pay attention to, I feel like really give you a better concept of what's happening. But as he was dropping all these people off, by the way, we had Tanaka from our previous episode following them around the entire time. Now, if you remember our last episode, Tanaka holds kind of a grudge against Odokawa. So, him following him around is very dangerous, especially knowing that he picked up Dobu's gun in our previous episode. But we'll get to that in a little bit. So, the manager bids his farewell, and he's on his way. And Odokawa actually goes and meets with the doctor, with Gokurika, whatever his name is. Really weird name. Some play on gorilla, obviously. But he goes and meets with him. And the doc tells him that, hey, I'm going to be closing shop up for a bit. And Odokawa asks him why. And he's like, and the doctor's like, oh, it's because we don't have enough medicine, you know? There's been some medicine missing recently. And if I keep it open, people are going to think that I'm stealing it. Or something like that. And Odokawa's like, oh, you're just trying to save your own ass. And he's like, yeah, well, kinda. And Odokawa actually says that. Is it Shirakawa? And the doctor instantly says, no, it's not her. There's no way it's her. But Odokawa actually reveals something I mentioned in a previous episode, that he saw Shirakawa with Dobu in an alleyway in our previous episodes. And he mentions that Shirakawa was short on money, implying that she's the one taking it. And the doctor, he just doesn't want to admit it. He keeps refusing it no matter what. He keeps saying like, oh, you saw her from behind and in a dark alley. There's no way that's her. It was nighttime. There's a lot of people that look like her from behind. But Odokawa, he knows better. He knows better. He's like, no, I know for a fact that was her. And before he leaves, actually, Odokawa tells him that you're actually not the only person that wants to meet with me tonight. And it's revealed that the other person is Dobu. Now, he picks up Dobu in an industrial plant. Already weird. Hell of a meeting spot, but alright. He goes and picks him up there, and Dobu starts asking him questions, you know? He starts asking, like, hey, who came and picked up your dash cam footage? You know, who's interested in it? Because Dobu's been behind the scenes the whole time. He's been watching everything. He's got a general idea. Because remember, in our previous episode, he did mention that if anyone asks for your cam footage, you have to tell me no matter what. And don't tell anyone else. But before he answers that question, he asked some questions of his own. He said, how are you connected with Shirakawa? You know, what's going on between you two? Why are you guys connected somehow? And Dobu, he's hesitant to answer, but he eventually does, saying how he's the one that shoulders her debt. Now, if you remember from our previous episode, when Shirakawa and Odokawa were talking, she mentions to him that she regrets going to medical school and that she had to take loans out to be able to do so. Now, I can only imagine, this is my guess here, that she didn't take a loan out from the bank. She ended up taking a loan out from the Yakuza, the Mafia. And this whole time, she's been stealing medicine to try to pay off that debt through Dobu. And that's how they know each other. That's what was implied in this episode, at least, because Dobu does not deny it when Odokawa asks him about that. But after Odokawa gets his questions answered, Dobu asks him, hey, who's been after your cam footage already? I've answered your questions, you tell me. And he tells Dobu that it is the manager of Mystery Kiss who's asking about it. And Dobu, the second he hears that, he instantly kind of puts something together in his head. He's like, oh man, I think I understand what's going on. And then Dobu brings up Yano. He's like, oh man, Yano's really getting involved in this situation too, huh? If you remember, Yano is Dobu's acquaintance that works with him in the Yakuza. And he's always trying to undermine him. So the fact that he mentions his name shows that this plot is much bigger than we think it is. And Odokawa, hearing this, says, alright, you got your information, man. Leave me alone. Like, I don't want any trouble. I don't even want to see you again. But Dobu instantly starts threatening him. Oh, and before I get into that, Dobu lets slip that, oh, I lost something very important that the boss gave me. I believe that's referring to the gun that he buried in the park that Tanaka actually ended up finding. I believe that's what he's referring to in that instance. And when Odokawa says he doesn't want any involvement in this, he starts threatening him, saying, how should I kill you, Odokawa? I know what people don't like the most. I am a good judge of character when it comes to that. And it ends on that. With Odokawa being threatened, you know, not being able to get out of the situation. And we actually transition to, what's his name? Kikihana. That's his name. Sorry if I mispronounced that throughout the episode, guys. It's Kikihana. We transition to him actually on a date with Shio-chan, which is revealed to be Ichimura. Like, that's who it is. Who we know now is with him for not so great reasons. Anyway, we see this man just doing everything he can to impress this girl while she's sitting there on her phone the whole time. And guys, if you're ever on a date with a girl and she's doing that, just walk out right then and there. She ain't worth it. Like, if she's on her phone during a date, like, that's so rude. Just walk out right there. Anyway, they get to talking, you know. And she actually mentions a video that's gone viral recently. And we get to see Taichi, the little hippo kid from our first episode, who made a video online that's gone viral saying how he's going to be the one to catch Dobu. That no matter what happens, he's going to find this man and bring him to justice. And some shit like that. And the whole town's talking about it. Dobu was freaked out in a scene with Odokawa about that too. He's like, man, I'm a wanted man right now. I got a lot of people coming after me because of this stupid video. Like, I'm a famous guy. I can't be seen anywhere. And that's all she talks about. And our episode ends actually with Kikihana pulling some money out to obviously pay for the dinner that we know she's only at for nefarious reasons at this point. And we see that this man has taken loans out to try to act like a rich man. Which, just sucks, man. He's going to ruin his life doing that. And that's how our episode ends. You know? We had a lot of interesting things happen in this episode, guys. we got to see a bit more of the situation unfold. Every single episode of this show, we get a little piece more and more of the puzzle. And I just hope at the end of the series, we get the complete puzzle and we're not missing a piece, if you know what I mean by that. But yeah, this series is fascinating. We had a lot of different points of interest in this episode that all came together into one point, and this series, I think, does that exceptionally well. We can just take some random-ass scenes that should not correlate with each other at all, and we always find a way to connect them to each other. It's just very fascinating. But you guys let me know what you thought of this episode down below. You know? I would love to hear your guys' opinion. But I think that'll be it for today's episode, guys, you know? We talked for a little bit longer than I thought we would in this video, but this series, there's just so much to talk about. So many little subtle things to bring up that, I don't know, it makes me love the series even more. But until next time, guys, I hope you have a great day, week, month, and year. And until then, deuces, and have a blessed day.